I was part of Restorative Justice Collective in Oakland, California, and it was for people who were experiencing incarceration. And this was a program, it was a pilot program funded by Netflix. Spice it up. It was innovative in that it was somewhat owl-inspired, not specifically, but it was for people to talk about the harms that are the hardest to talk about, especially in the prison system. And it was co-led by incarcerated leaders who were specifically trying to create circles and spaces where we could talk out loud about things that hurt and notice the patterns of our own lives and in the larger culture, and imagine new ways of being together in the future, even if we were never released from prison. It was worth it. Now that group of 20 people would commit for 2 years of circles. And then when they graduated, they would commit to another 2 years of circles. And then after that, they would commit to another 2 years. 2 years of circles, yes. And it was because this sort of thing takes that sort of time. Now, there was a predictable pattern to the work we would do each month. If someone stretched 1 month to practice accountability for the harm that they caused, then they would inevitably need to do healing work the next month for something that hurt them. And then if someone spent 1 month getting a lot of loving, beautiful witnessing for the harm they experienced, they would have the emotional and spiritual stamina to be accountable for the harm they caused the next month. It was like a 2-step. Healing, then accountability. Accountability, and then healing. You could not have one without the other. So healing and accountability are actually not 2 words. They just need a hyphen. They just need a hyphen. Now there's something else that needs a hyphen. There is work by Vanessa de Mercado Oliveira of the Gesturing Towards Decolonial Futures Collective. And this is a collective of educators and activists from Central, South, and North America who are committed to educational experiments in decolonizing our world. Now, the proposal they have is these educational experiences and educational experiments will never be enough. They'll never, ever, ever, ever be enough. But there's something to practice together, all but imperfectly, because it's worth doing. It's worth taking 2 years, and then how many, Catherine?
2 more.
2 more years together. Now, in the face of what's happening in our world, the kinds of micro experiments you might feel self-conscious spending an entire week doing, right? Are actually the place of practice for the thing the larger world needs. Because if we live in a world of these 4, what they call denials, if we live in a world of incredible unsustainability, not facing the fact that what we have created can't last forever. And if we live in a world of systemic violence, which means that the very thing that we cherish is fueled by violences that we don't witness. The clothes I am wearing to talk to you about restorative justice were made by slave labor. I have to live with that reality simultaneously at all times. The leg you put upon me to welcome me, the flowers, the hands that picked them, the money that was exchanged, every act that we have that at some point says, I am healing towards you, also requires some level of accountability towards the harm that made it even possible. We have to live with that simultaneously. The third is our total entanglement with each other. The idea that I could ever choose being autonomous from Allison Jacobs, when in actuality, I am completely entangled with her being. I can't choose when I would like to be responsible to you. I am viscerally responsible to you by living in an interdependent web of all existence, of which we are all a part. And then the enormity, the idea that my little experiment would solve everything, and I could be self-righteously proud that I have gathered you in a restorative justice circle, and I have healed all the issues that face you. The hubris, the utter hubris of that. And yet, thank you, Teresa, 2 years. The enormity of the issues we face. We live, they say, in this metaphor of a house of modernity that is cracking. Right? The education systems, the systems of capital and exchange, the things that we take for granted, the nation state is cracking. This gorgeous house, no matter what Dan Carpenter does, working his ass off to keep this house going, the house of modernity is cracking. And the thing that we have been feeling on our backs is some kind of individualized responsibility for all of it. And the individualized responsibility is like a heap on top of us. And we've got this walking stick, these people say, that says certainty, control. And we walk with the hope of certainty and control until that too is cracking. There ain't no walking stick for the thing on our backs. Now, what do we do with a reality like that? This is what these decolonial activist experimenters say. They say we have to build our capacity to reach behind us, lift it over our heads, look at it with loving eyes, and then together put it in the center and compost that shit. This is a composting process. The capacity to lift it off each of our individuals. This is not just Marie or Dave. It's not just Carla. It's not just Gabe. It's not their individual responsibility only, but there is something for them to do. They have to lift it up over their heads, a personal practice, so that we can collectively transform them. Now the thing is, if anyone here has a compost pile, you know that stuff smells. Compost is no joke. It's a very convenient metaphor, but it's also very effective for what it takes. The kind of discomfort that comes when you actually take your shit off your back and put it in front of another human being. Now the thing they say we have to develop our capacity for is to sit with this discomfort without throwing up. Catherine mentioned throwing up the fly, yeah. Without throwing up, throwing a tantrum, or throwing in the towel. Throwing up, throwing a tantrum, or throwing in the towel. You individually have to have enough stamina, and then relationally support each other enough to stay at the center of what's transforming without running away from it, making everyone the problem, or throwing up. Now the beauty of that metaphor is here's the new hyphen. There is something that must die. This is your altar of grief and possibility. So participants in this week's workshops built this altar. On one side are all the deep and meaningful aches that need dignifying by the community. And on the other side are all the wild and grounded possibilities people keep showing up for, despite the presence of the shit pile. Okay? So what's needed is our capacity to hospice the thing that needs done with dignity, and to tend the thing that needs midwifing, the possibilities that are being born, without letting our projections of what they should be suffocate their breathing. So this is our double hyphen, the capacity to heal and be accountable, the capacity to let something die and let something be born simultaneously. And it's this little crack in the broken open thing between the idea that we are totally doomed and the idea that we have all the answers and we can control it. There is the most gorgeous crack, the size of this space, in my tooth. We're moving forward and moving through together. So there are two prayers for the crack. It is a quality of attention and the capacity to surrender. Now the prayer for your quality of attention, if you were to imagine how long this congregation, let alone you congregations, have been playing out the patterns you've been experiencing, I imagine they have been longer than a year. So we need a quality of devoted time longer than a year, at least 2 years, to take something on completely. But it's not just this idea that it's 2 years. It's with the quality of attention that those leaders in prison had. That they had the quality of attention to keep at it together for 2 years. It wasn't a piece of paper goal on the wall. It was this deep, visceral sense that that was the spiritual practice of our time. This is the spiritual practice of our time. Now for the prayer for the quality of surrender, more often than not, if you haven't been practicing this kind of thing for 2 years and more than 2 years and then more than 2 years, what you have isn't just a compost heap, you have a funeral pyre. Now so suddenly, this funeral pyre is ablaze. And it's too hot. It's too hot to handle. It's been too hot to handle. So some of us had to leave. Some of your dear ones had to leave to get air. We talked about their ghosts. They had to leave to get some air, to survive. Now, some of us had some water and we hauled it over, and sometimes we were successful, but man, sometimes we just spilled it out unsuccessfully, even with our best intentions. Some of us are grieving while we watch it burn. Now, some of us have been pointing to this pile for so damn long that we are saying, why didn't you hear me? Why didn't you hear me? Now, some of us are frozen in fear or anger. Some of us are in the corners tending the wounded. Some of us are the wounded. All of us are impacted. So what do? We gather in circles, just far enough away from the ashes, wherever there's enough air. And as the pyre cools, we inch towards it step by step. We don't stay too comfortable too far away. We have to move towards it, leaving a trail for others who might show up walking through the door when they are ready. When they are ready. And the trail is as follows. Inch by inch, we risk naming out loud, and we risk receiving loving witness for the things that have been hurting us. And then we risk asking for what you need to heal. And we take it in awkwardly as the people around us witness us through their ash and tear-streamed faces. They will not do it perfectly. You will not do it perfectly. And that's okay. And then inch by inch, we take the spiritual fortitude that comes from all the loving witness, and then we turn around and we ask with our palm outstretched and with tenderness, tell me, how did I impact you? What is mine to own in your ache? How not do it perfectly. It is okay to swallow a fly. You will not know what it will produce. Your committing to this path cannot be about the certainty of its success, nor your control of its outcome. That is the rule of the compost pile. Visitors will come. They're here right now. But they are looking for people who know how to tend a world on fire, not a people who pretend it's not burning. So let them help you. And be surprised that by doing your tilling and your tending, you are helping them. And then do it over and over and over again together, and be surprised when something changes that was not of your individual creation or will. And be grateful for the thing that comes by the thing that is done together. Give thanks. Do it again. And in these words by Rosemary that we started with, the vase that has been shattered and cracked will never hold water. Eventually it will leak. And at some point perhaps we decide that we're done with picking our flowers anyway. And we no longer need one place to contain them. We watch them grow, just as wildflowers do. Unfenced, unmanaged, blossoming only when they're ready, and my God, how beautiful they are amidst the pile of shards. May